So we spend so much time thinking about what other people thinking about us that we almost don't live our own life. We live the life that other people want us to live.
Applying yourself as much as you can while you're at the university. So what kind of advice can you share to international students in general for interview processes so that they can get a job in the competitive market?
So you have to be a standout in terms of a work visa. In the end, in terms of what field you enter, in the end, it's a much of your skills.
Okay.
So if you're able to communicate your skills well, is the most important thing. It's like, no, we're looking for someone with more experience.
Okay.
It's like, how am I supposed to get my first experience if everyone is looking for experience?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So you have to be a bit more creative.
But nobody asks a question like, how do you stay poor?
You are watching the Fortunate Mindset Podcast.
I want to start with this podcast today with this quote. And Taylor will tell me what you think about it. People without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots.
Yeah,
What do you think about that?
that brings in perspective of a lot of things. I don't know if you've seen the movie Roots as well. That movie is very unique in terms of it shows the character Kuta Kinte, his journey from Africa.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, I think the country he was coming from, I believe it was either Ghana,
Okay.
of the sort, but he was coming here into the States, his transition here in the States. If you don't remember your roots, where you're coming from,
Yeah.
or your origin, your future is going to be very flu. It's going to be foggy,
Blurry.
blurry. You have to know where you're coming from,
Sure.
your origin, your roots.
Your roots.
It plays a big factor in who you are today, and who just your future as well, in general.
All right. So before we start this episode and going to introduce our guest and having to dive into the conversation, I would just stop a little bit and talk to you, to everybody's listening or watching right now. So we want to thank you first for your support, for everything that you're doing, sharing the video. We really appreciate your help and being there for us. And if you're new and this is your first time to be here, please, we invite you to join our community. This community is more dedicated to talk about youth, young people challenges, either it's in entrepreneurship, it is in education, business, relationship. So we are really open-minded and bringing special guests that have experiences, that have knowledge, that are expert in other field. So that is why we really thank you for being there and share and support this video. And if you have a question, don't worry, you can ask it either into our different platform as Instagram and Facebook as well. And you can even leave it to the comment below. So let's dive to the conversation. Hey, it's Kenda.
How's it going?
Man, I would just say, if I have just to use one word, I would say wonderful.
Wonderful.
That's great.
It has been a unique day in general.
Man, it has been like really kind of a day where you feel like, I don't feel like it's going to work. But at the end of it, you see everything is just bright.
Yeah.
I
Holding
mean,
on to the Easter spirit.
man, I'm telling you. And the topic that we're going to talk today is kind of bring us back where we come from. I know we've had some conversation last time with one of our friends, really a smart person, talking about a Black culture, African culture, African American culture. But we want to have a different perspective. We want to have a different point of view. We want to have a different way to see things, right? So that's why we've brought somebody really amazing.
Yeah.
That are gonna dive into different aspects of things. And when actually you told me about a person, I was so curious. I was like, how does a person can be Asian and African at the same time?
A lot of people don't know that there's Asians in Africa.
Bro, I was so confused.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? Let's bring him in. and let's have his own perspective. So I'll give you the chance to introduce our guest today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure for me to introduce our guest. I went to school with him at Texas Tech during my mechanical engineering days. Whenever we were still students going
Yeah.
through difficult classes.
Yeah.
He's very intelligent.
Oh.
Extremely intelligent.
No, you're too kind.
Yeah, we had a lot of times where we were spending time together studying and speaking on our classes and things. And now he's a buddy of mine that works also in the engineering industry as well.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm just happy to introduce Logan May.
Yeah, thank
Logan
you.
May, man, how you been?
I've been good. Thank you for having me on this podcast. It's obviously
Thank you
it's
for
a
coming.
privilege.
Thank you for
Yeah.
man. That you look so fresh, bro.
Thank you. Oh my god, I wish I got the dress code. You guys are wearing button-up shirts and
Yeah,
everything.
man. No,
Yeah.
I mean, we just coming from church, and we didn't really have time to go change and all of this stuff. We usually go change, and so that because we want it to be really casual, right? We don't want it to be more like classic or whatever. But we have some secret that under there that we're now gonna disclose.
Oh, excited to see it or hear it.
Yeah, sure. So, Logan, if you have to describe Logan in one word, what would you say?
I would say growth. I think my journey has been a lot of personal growth and continuous growth, and that's the mindset I usually take in life, a growth mindset. So, in one word, growth.
Growth.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
good.
I know, like, this thing just came in my mind, and as all human being, we have this thing that we value a lot. But if you could tell us, what is this thing that you valued a lot growing up, but once you get old at a certain age or at where you are, you feel like it wasn't really the main thing to focus about?
So something that I thought was important, but then when I grew up, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I think thinking on what other people thought about me. I think a lot of people struggle with this in terms of like going through high school life. It's like, oh, if I do this, what do people think about me?
Yeah.
If I do this instrument, or if I perform, or if I even start a podcast, what will my friends and family think about me?
Yeah, sure.
So I think as you grow older, you care less. I think it's very true on what other people think.
Yeah.
You should care mostly on what you think as well and what you feel like doing.
That's so huge. That's really important. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, so we spend so much time thinking about what other people thinking about us that we almost don't live our own life. We live the life that other people want us to live.
Yeah. So basically thinking always on how other people see you.
Yeah.
And in truth, when you grow up older, you realize that people don't really care so much about you so much.
Yeah.
Like, oh, if you wear this kind of shirt or whatever, or if you wear these kind of shoes, people are always in their own heads.
Sure.
So they're not really caring too much about what you are doing as much. So you should put too much focus as
Yeah.
that.
Logan, I want to dive into your background, your transition from the time you spent in South Africa. Like we mentioned, a lot of people when they initially click on this video
Yeah.
and they see an Asian guy here,
Yeah.
they'll just think he's from Asia or somewhere
Yeah,
over there.
sure.
Yeah.
But he's really from South Africa.
Yeah.
So talk about your experience in Africa and then your transition here in America.
So I'll give it a little bit of history on how I ended up in Africa, in
Yeah.
South Africa.
Okay.
So basically, my great grandfather immigrated from China during the Mao Zedong period.
Okay.
And basically, during that period, it was communism just being swept around. And unfortunately, during that time, my family were business owners.
Yeah.
So not a good combination of being a business owner and being in a communist era coming through. So they immigrated from China to South Africa.
Yeah.
And there's been a joke on why Africa, why South Africa.
Wow.
But there's no real understanding yet. But the joke is that my great grandfather and my family thought that South Africa was America.
They thought it was America. How's that so?
So they got off the boat and they couldn't speak English. So they were like, okay, I guess we're stuck here.
Oh my
So
God.
we made it finally. I'm here in America.
Yeah.
It just took 3 generations. But yeah, I was born and raised in South Africa.
Where
I was-
exactly?
Johannesburg, South Africa,
Nice,
like
nice.
the main capital. And from there, I spent 20 years in South Africa, going to school there, go to high school, doing 1 year in uni in South Africa as well, and then transferring to Texas. So where I started studying mechanical engineering.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
That experience is very unique. I only got to capture the snippet of your experience at Texas Tech and
Yeah.
your experiences while you were getting an engineering degree. But I didn't understand where I wasn't there for your experience in the 20 years you did in Cape Town or in South Africa in general.
Yeah.
And then so I'd like to dive into that transition, the phase of your life whenever you were leaving South Africa and then coming into the U.S. So what were some of the culture shocks? What were some of the experiences that you went through?
Yeah, sure.
Initially, whenever you came here in America.
So I think this applies to all immigrants as well, that America is not super strange because we are heavily influenced by a lot of Western culture and a lot of
sure.
Media comes from America. So
Yeah.
you would see movies, you would see music and everything. So you have this idea in America when you first like in your international country and you're like, okay, America's like this, and you see the news and everything, and you form a very generalized stereotypical idea from news and media. And then when you actually come here, it's completely different, I would say, to what media is. So
Yeah.
one of the biggest, you said cultural
Culture shocks, and yeah, really how you overcame them as well.
I think the biggest cultural shocks was basically finances. I think the support of governments to people is tough. It is a lot of opportunities, that no lie, but it is a lot of stuff you have to navigate through. Like health insurance is a big one. Student loans is a big one. Just navigating through the politics as well as a student. Where do you see yourself, and what kind of views can you have in America as well? So it's kind of like all those cultural shocks is like those are intimidating, but there's also a lot of great things about America that is like, it's like the opportunity was just crazy, the amount of people that you meet. So although there's a lot of challenges I will face coming to America, the opportunities and the amount of positives definitely outweighed it and definitely motivated me.
I know a lot of people don't talk about this, at least not as much as I used to hear back in the early, maybe late maybe early 2010s. The apartheid. What was your experience in, I guess, the later phases of it, and when you were there in South Africa?
Apartheid ended around 1990 of South Africa, and Nelson Mandela was elected president in 1994. So there's definitely apartheid and such a strong structure of like racism can't just disappear overnight.
Right.
Sure,
It's very hard.
sure.
It's a
Yeah,
long
sure.
transitionary period.
Yeah.
Change your beliefs, and not everyone was on board. So I was born in 1998.
Okay.
And since then, there's still remnants of apartheid.
Yeah.
It's hard to move past that. You know, my dad was growing up in apartheid, so it's a different story. So there's always challenges to that.
Yeah.
But I think for the biggest things growing up, like in a society post-apartheid, was Nelson Mandela did a really good job on unifying the nation, on trying to, he coined the term Rainbow Nation in his speech in 1994.
Okay.
And that's really been sticking. People are very open. People are very culturally, even if they have these beliefs. It's like, I would talk to people, it's like, okay, they do have these beliefs, like, okay, I don't like these kind of people and these are my views. They're open to talk about it. And the most important thing is they're open to listen and still work on things together.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think one of the culture shocks I noticed was that compared to that period where in South Africa, where people would be like, okay, these are beliefs, I will say it. And then once I say it, it sounds more dumber than it is. And then people can talk to me and people are more reasonable and everything. In America, people hold their beliefs very strongly to themselves.
Okay.
And they get punished more for maybe even letting known their beliefs that might not be to what people are deem as correct. Because
Do you think that is, since America has the freedom of speech?
Yeah, that's the thing actually, because everybody It says America is free. Like there's a freedom, and you can speak and say whatever you want. Um, Conversely, to other some African country, for instance, you cannot tell a bad thing against the president, for example. You cannot say a bad thing about maybe a member of the government. But here, somebody can just take a tweet, say it out there, and everybody, somebody can say, "Oh no, I'm a Christian." Somebody can say, "I'm a like Muslim," or uh, kind of different religions. So how do you say like people keep those kind of belief to themselves?
So what I experience is more racist beliefs. So
Okay.
people have like prejudice against certain races.
Wow.
In South Africa, they would have prejudices, but they would like let them know and be like they'll be open to criticism. But here, I've talked to some people and I've met some people who do have some prejudice, but they don't trust telling people or getting opinions on it because they know if they bring it even up, they're just gonna get backlashed on it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
people aren't. There is freedom of speech, but it's not a speech of like, oh, let's try listen to you and then understand you and then try talk to you slower. If you say you're welcome to say anything you want, but the amount of repercussions for saying what you want is heavily punished here. I feel like if you are not on the right side of view or whatever, even like for instance saying you're I don't know Trump supporter, that's
Yeah.
already a red flag. Like if you
Yeah.
say that,
Okay.
everyone's gonna like bash on you. But it's like, okay, instead of that, why don't you ask why are you a Trump supporter or why are you this? It's like then listen to your views. People are very quick to like deem very black and white. It's like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
if you're this, you're bad. If you're this, if you think this, you're
Yeah.
wrong and
Okay.
everything.
Okay.
So
Okay. So you think like people want you to be at the right side of the thing so that you can have the freedom to say whatever you want, or for the right of side of the thing. I mean, from what they think is right. Is that what you mean?
Uh, yeah, they have an idea on what is right, but they don't really work on listening to open other opinions. I feel it's very close-minded still. You can, like a lot of people are more close-minded on, I think that's why there's so much separation in politics and other stuff. I don't want to delve too much, but in just their general opinions, it's because
Yeah, sure.
people don't listen to each other's opinions too much. People can
Okay.
talk to it about it, but listening and try understanding from one point to another is a challenge that people need to see it through more. So it's like for my experience here, I'm a very open person. So that was a cultural thing I had to adapt to. Just be very neutral coming through. And then when you're very neutral and you're very open to anyone, I hear so many different sides from both sides of any
Yeah.
kind of topic. And the truth is, both sides actually do make sense. It's
Okay.
based on how you were raised and where you were grown up, and people don't really understand that. It's like, if I was grown up in this situation, that's why I have these beliefs. And if I was grown up in these situations, then that's why I have these beliefs. Although they might be competing, they're still correct.
Okay.
But then that kind of understand that situation of dialogue is still missing, I feel like, in a lot in growing up in Texas a little bit.
Oh, okay, okay. That's makes sense because I'm like, if now, as you mentioned, like the both sides can be right or have a good reason to say whatever they
Yeah.
say. So why do we find division? Why do we find there is a right side and the left side? Because if both of them feel like, as you said, like they are a kind of a true truth, like between them. Why do they have to be separated, not be united? Why not being the same place and going for the same and objective or the same goal?
I think it's hardly contribute to media. It's easy. Everyone wants a black and white answer for a lot of stuff. It's most easy to understand. It's most easy to want. People don't want to accept a gray region for a lot of stuff. So also, I think media is also one of the biggest things. It's like media is either this side or this side. It's like you have to be on this side. There's no like middle ground or anything. So I think that's what's pushed a lot of people on being heavily on one side or the other.
Yeah, so I know whenever a lot of international students come here
Yeah.
and transition here, they have a tough time. Some have a tough time just adjusting to the culture.
Yeah.
So, what are some mentorship tactics you would recommend, you think that are extremely important for international students as they transition to a new culture, a new society here in the U.S.? What do you think they should take on as mentorship opportunities?
So like trying to find a mentor or
Trying to
trying to
find a
find advice.
mentor, primarily advice on, just adjusting into a culture. So it's not so much of a culture shock whenever you're coming here into a new country with different beliefs, as we're speaking of. What can what kind of mentorship can people seek for?
So I would say the most important things are being open. Don't be so close-minded. Try to stick to one group. I think a lot of international students kind of, it is a big shift already. I know it's like going from one country to another. It's like you are trying to find your place. You want to try to find some parts of home. So you want to find your group. I see that a lot in like versus Texas Tech, where there'll be like a lot of Asian groups would form like that. They would like stick together. Like a lot of Chinese students would stick to their Chinese groups and whatever. So I think don't try to do that. Go to those groups, but also be very open to explore different groups and make friends with different cultures, and especially American culture, American friends. Be open to that. And one also important thing, regardless, is respect. Always be respectful of a culture. You are coming here, and you are kind of America is opening the doors for you, and they're going to come opening their doors of their house to you. So you have to be respectful. So respectful to the people. Don't always try like be like complaining, be like, oh, why did you guys do this or this or this? Be critical of every single thing. I know there's a lot to be critical of, but be open to listen and be respect cultures and be like, because America is very diverse in cultures. So as long as you're respectful, you're open, and finding people who are mentoring you is going to be tough. It is hard. You feel like you know no one, but being open, being respectful, and being positive is the biggest one, because no one wants to hang around a student who is closed off and rude. So
Yeah, sure.
definitely.
Okay, so now as somebody who has came like you came like as an international student.
Yeah, I came on a temporary green card.
Okay, that's great. So now, if somebody who's in Africa or Asia or Europe that wanna come here in the United States as if for college or university degree, right? What kind of advice can you give the person? Like, what kind of route or system can that person use to come and start studying here in the United States? Or if they come here, what kind of life should they start living, or which kind of way could they like in, put in place to bring them to success and being really a successful person as you've done?
So I think Taylor got to a good point. Mentorship is very important. Seeing people who are successful and reaching out to them, having a connection, having either a family or friend who's went into a path you want to go to or similar path, and reaching out to them and knowing what they did right, what they did wrong. International,
that too.
yeah, definitely just going online as well, just learning as much as possible. Definitely learning as much as the systems as possible coming to America, making sure your finances are correct and your paperwork are fine. So once you get your paperwork down and you're ready to apply, and once you apply to universities, know your loans and your finances pretty well, because it's a whole different finance system in Africa and a lot of other countries outside of Africa. They're mostly either very affordable or free universities. So knowing how American universities work, and that a lot of times for international coming from to here, you need scholarships to get in state, because if you get out of state, those are like for like super like double or sometimes triple the actual in-state tuition. So knowing your finances, knowing what degree you want to do, because that is pretty important. You better choose somewhat of a field that you know you like, because that's the field you're going to be choosing throughout your school career. But you can transition obviously, but that's choosing your specific degree is important because that helps for your career. If you come here as an art student, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's much more harder to
Yeah.
get a job, a work visa, than if you came here as a STEM, as a computer science
Oh,
major.
okay.
But it's
Okay.
definitely, I think that's one of the
Definitely.
sponsorships are the biggest thing for if you actually want to work here.
Oh,
That's right.
okay.
Yeah, so I have a specific experience that actually happened back in whenever we were at Texas Tech. There was an instance where I got together with a lot of my African friends. Like you were mentioning, at the end on a university level, there's a lot of people that just stick to groups, certain groups,
Yeah, sure.
that are
That's true.
that are just limiting themselves to your culture,
Yeah.
the type of things that you like to do. So there was an experience where I was playing. I wanted to play soccer with some of my African friends.
Yeah.
We went to the field, and then some of our counterparts, there's a group of Indian folks that were playing already, and they were enjoying, having a good time playing.
Yeah, sure.
And then our group of Africans, we came, and right whenever we seen them, we said, "Hey, you guys are playing soccer. We want to play soccer. Let's play.
Okay.
Let's all have fun. Let's do it."
Let's do it. Okay.
And then they looked at us, picked up the ball, and then they went to another field.
No way.
We wanted to,
No.
play together, have a good time. But one of the Indian guys told me and said, "You guys play too rough.
Oh.
You guys you guys break people's bones and stuff. We don't want to play."
Oh no.
So they
my
picked up the
gosh.
ball and then went to a different, talk about the culture shock.
Yeah.
That you can experience whenever you're transitioning to not only the university life, but just coming here into America.
Yeah.
And
sure.
how that it can impact somebody and what you can do to really mitigate the risks of that.
So that's a tough story. Yeah, I definitely had experiences with that as well.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna pretend like, oh yeah, I had these awesome beliefs go into it. I'm like any other normal person.
Yeah.
When I first came to Texas, I was like, I joined my university and I try to find my people.
Yeah.
But the thing is, my people are very rare. South Africans, first of
Yeah.
all, and specifically Lubbock, Texas. I don't think I met
Yeah.
very few South Africans at all in
Oh
Texas.
yeah. Sure.
So first of all, I try to connect with South African people, but there was no South African people at my university I could have connected at the time. So that forced me to branch out a little bit more. And then I try to connect with the Asian community because I am like
Yeah.
Chinese.
Yeah.
So I applied to the Chinese Association
Yeah.
in Texas Tech, and I was actually rejected.
No way. No.
Why is that?
Because I wasn't Chinese enough or Asian enough. Because it was like they had Mandarin all over the thing, and I was just like, they saw I was from South Africa and everything. And I'm like, yeah. So they didn't even like look at my application. They're just like, yeah.
Oh.
So I was forced to explore different cultures, which has been actually really fulfilling.
Yeah.
So definitely, I know a lot of people when they come here, especially from cases where they don't have a lot of people. Maybe they come from a unique culture or niche country.
Yeah.
That honestly, just being around people with, it's not so important in the country, but obviously you can have shared experience. It's about shared values. So
Oh.
finding people with similar values as you, people who are open to explore new cultures, people who have the same mindset as you, people who are kind of engaged and kind of always looking to grow as well. So it's not so much always try to find the culture, but even if you find a culture, I did meet South Africans later on. They weren't, although I could connect with them, they weren't the same kind. It's like back in your country, like each of your countries, you're not going to connect with every person in your country. You're going to connect with people who have the same values as you or the same goals as you. So in the end, definitely there's going to be cultural things where it's going to shock you, but don't take it too much to the chin. People are kind of close-minded a little bit, and they just need time, as long as you just be open to everyone, you'll find a group who accepts you, and you'll learn from them, and they'll learn from your culture, and then you guys will be so much more than each other's culture. You'll be such a unique combination that it's gonna be so fulfilling.
Okay. I know you're coming from South Africa, and in South Africa they already speak English, right? So, but let's talk about all the immigrant, like people that coming from maybe a different country that don't speak English, right? So, let's say, how did you manage the time where you felt like you want to give up, or in either it's in your professional or academic, pursuit. So due to a language barrier or some cultural as you say, you didn't find a South Africa community, you went to the Asian community, then you got rejected to there. So that can break a person. That can feel like you don't belong to somewhere. So how did you manage that time where you feel like, I feel like I'm not going anymore. I'm gonna give up here. So what kind of advice or how did you overcome it to help somebody who can go through that same situation right now and help them overcome the same issue?
So I think the first thing is, if you're immigrating, your case is going to be such a unique case. You as an individual, your experiences. My case is going to be other completely different to Taylor and your case, situation, your experience and history.
Yeah.
It's going to be daunting, but you won't find. It's going to be very rare to find someone who went through the exact same path as you and the exact same history as you. So I think accepting that you are a unique case and your experience is more unique and it's unlikely that you're going to meet people who went through the same stuff as you. So accepting that you are a going through this experience and then trying to shift your way from a group mentality of just like, oh, trying to be like everyone, which is also a gift under disguise, because once you go through a unique experience, you realize that you can be a unique individual.
Yeah.
So once you realize you can be a unique individual, that your path is not really dictated by this sort of path. It's like, oh, this person went through this same college, this person went through this same school, and then, okay, he went through this job, so then I must go through the job. Your path is more undetermined, and that can be daunting, but it can also be exciting because now you know I can be more on terms of what I want to do, and I can choose a path of my own more.
Yeah.
So realizing you're out of that group mentality is actually a gift in itself. I know there's going to be cultural differences, languages and everything, but it's honestly a learning experience. Like I said, growth, learning from every experience that you had and moving it forward, taking it forward.
I know a lot of people that come here in the States may experience a pressure in adapting to the new culture. So they may have to feel as if they need to shift from their identity, from their culture beliefs and their values, so that they can accommodate or they can just adapt easier to the environment that's here in the U.S. So talk about not not forgetting your identity, like how we started this conversation, talking mostly about our origins and our roots. Talk a little bit about keeping our roots, our identity, and still being able to adapt to the opportunities that America has with finances or money or just jobs, education. Not having the burden or the pressure to adapt and forget about our culture.
Yeah, it's hard, man. It's honestly hard because you come through such environments and then you go to a completely different environment, and then a lot of days coming the first months and maybe within years, you would like sit in your bed or you would do something in America and then you would be like, wow, did I even like that whole experience of a previous culture feels like a dream almost.
Okay.
It almost doesn't feel real to extent because it's almost so different, and sometimes it's kind of hard for people. It's been so long ago that you feel like, did that really happen? Did I really grow up in South Africa? Stuff like that. Or so it is going to be hard to maintain the culture, especially if you don't have people around you and you don't have family members. But I would say continuously embrace it, your culture. It will call on you when you need it. You will get times you'll call with family, call with friends, definitely, or bring you back, keep you grounded. And embracing definitely American culture is one of the steps to transition to be successful in terms of knowing how Americans do stuff and embracing working with Americans and doing the experiences that they enjoy.
Yeah.
But I think the best experience in terms of still maintaining your culture while still embracing your new culture of America is kind of showing your culture, sharing it with other people is very important. So cooking your cuisine and sharing it with your friends so they can see what your culture is like. This is the food I used to eat and everything. And then you basically sharing your stories growing up
Definitely.
and
Yeah,
definitely
sure.
keeps it alive. So
I know every time I used to come to your apartment back in at Texas Tech in college, dude, you used to just always be chefing something up.
yeah.
Like you're just in the kitchen just cooking
Okay.
some fried rice. Just
yeah.
I remember I walked in once and you were cooking cow tongue.
Oh yeah.
Cow
Lingua,
tongue?
Cow
yeah.
tongue. I was like, bro, what are you doing? And then you got. I think a few hours later, you guys were just munching down on it and just eating. How was
Yeah.
that actually?
It's pretty good. It's very tender.
Oh yeah. I mean, so I just want to take a moment for now, like for everybody who have started with the video until to this moment, to tell you that if you really enjoy this conversation, just give us a time, like and a comment, share it to people, and really thank you for being with us. We are going really, really great, diving into culture, into immigrant, like we're coming from different places and coming to America, United States, definitely where almost everybody want to come into a land of opportunity, as they say. So let's go back to the conversation and see what Logan has more in his brain. I mean, we can
my
now
gosh.
talk about everything, but let's
Yeah.
have the most important one. Um, Logan, let's say that somebody right now, you mentioned something about student loan, right? Do you think like it's a really great idea for somebody coming as an international student to have a student loan?
So it's always a gray zone for student loans. It's definitely a opportunity to help you continue your education. It is important, but you have to take like facts like, okay, what degree am I studying for, and what is the you have to do like analysis like what's the average first year pay, for instance, in my field and everything. How many years estimated would this take to pay it off if I want to work in United States? Because this is a case you would have to determine when you're choosing universities, because each university will give you different scholarships and different how much tuition it costs. Like Ivy League will always be more expensive than general local colleges. So for student loans, know your degree and know how much loans you're taking, and know your job, as well as just learning on like the type of loans, because there's also high interest loans.
Right.
You have to learn like how much you have to pay off per year and everything after you graduate. So
Sure.
definitely, it's just one of those things you have to definitely learn before coming here.
Yeah.
Before you just sign a paper where it's like, oh, I'm gonna take $40,000 in student loans. It's like, yeah, it's gonna be tough because you're like 18 probably or something. A lot of Americans have this issue as well.
I would say loans is always something that you want to avoid
Definitely.
unless you are in a situation where you need to get a loan.
Yeah.
If you're in a position where you can't get a scholarship here, you can't. There's so much money in terms of scholarships that's available to not only international students but students that are already here in general. So apply yourself.
Yeah,
Just look for organizations and clubs that you can join,
yeah.
at the university or at the college level.
Yeah.
And just apply yourself. Look for the best leadership positions in those organizations.
Okay.
That's what's going to help you be able to get scholarships, get free money,
Yeah.
and just continue applying for grants and scholarships in that way.
Definitely. I mean, that is a great. Why did I bring that question first? Is because, as we've been talking before, I've just moved to United States pretty recently, and coming from Africa, there are so many enterprises, organization, working like, okay, we're helping people that want to go study in the United States. You pay them money and they start doing all the the procedures and all of the stuff. But there's one thing that they tell you like, okay, as a student, you can still get a job. You can work as a student in the United States. So I want us to make sure and to be clear about that. Like, are you sure, like, while being a student in United States, coming from all other different countries, either it's in Africa, in Asia, or Europe, can you work in the United States as a student?
So from my experience on hearing other students as well, you can work as a student, but it has to be within the university.
Okay.
and they have to kind of like allow it kind of thing.
Oh.
So for instance, internships or as such or research, most students, international students work as research roles
Okay.
within the universities. But in terms of work outside, like as an international student, it's going to probably, you can't work at like Chick-fil-A, you know, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you cannot work
yeah, you cannot work in terms of outside
university
kind of
Okay,
thing.
okay.
So university kind of has to allow it as well. So that's my experience from when I was studying and hearing from people, but it might have changed.
Okay.
So-
Okay. So what would you say about that, Taylor?
It's true. In terms of working, whenever you're still taking classes, kind of limited.
Okay.
But there's still opportunities on campus as well to be able to work, to be able to just make a little bit of money for here and there for gas and things like that. So that's why it comes back. I come back to what I was saying earlier, just applying yourself as much as you can while you're at the university, because most universities have a lot of opportunities.
Yes.
If you just look for opportunities, speak to people, network, you're gonna find opportunities at the universities.
So when you say applying yourself too much, you know, somebody can be sitting there saying like, so okay, you tell me to apply myself too much. Like, how can I apply myself? What can I do
Yeah.
to get to those opportunities?
Yeah, look for your interests. Look for the things that you're interested in, and look for the organizations that have those types of things. And really just be active in networking events, activities, and events that the university is hosting. What would you say to that?
So I just sort of other thing. I know this is like off the books and everything kind of thing, but yes, you can work. But for anything that's related to like tax, there's a lot of work in America that's not really kind of right up through, give it to the IRS, everything. So you can work like private more jobs where it's just like someone pay you cash, like videographer. Someone will if you do some, you have to be like, it's kind of pull up by your bootstraps kind of thing. Like you have to find your own work. It doesn't have to be like something where everyone else does, where you have to go work for like Walmart or Costco or stuff like that. As a student, you can like Taylor as well, be independent and try do a bit of a hustle mentality. Like try find work online, try find work that's not necessarily, it's a big corporation and they have to manage and they have to get the documents. It's like, if someone needs some videographer work like yourself, or someone needs photographers, you know, I think it was a few, I'm not going to say, but a few friends of mine who would just like take photography and do like charge people for photographs, you know. It's whatever skills you have and interests, you can still find a way to do work and earn money within the United States.
So on that same subject, I want to talk about something specific that's in regards to jobs. The competitive job market. Because even for the people that are here in the U.S. already, not immigrants, it's already competitive, extremely competitive on who gets the opportunities. So what kind of advice can you share to international students in general for interview processes, and just being able to distinguish themselves, be unique in the applicant pool, so that they can get a job in the competitive market? What would you say to that?
At international students, you are going to be at a disadvantage if you're on a visa, work visa already, because these recruiters would have to look at you, and if you're on a visa and you need a work visa, these companies would have to pay you for your skills, and they may possibly have to pay $15,000 extra on top of that, or sort of fees just to have sponsorship. So the amount of paperwork is a lot. So you have to be a standout in terms of a work visa. But if you're more an even playing field, for instance, like you're more resident or something like that, you will still have a little bit of prejudice as an international student, but not as much, because in the end, in terms of what field you enter, in the end, it's a much of your skills. So if you're able to communicate your skills well, is the most important thing. I would say a lot of people can get into a lot of work if they actually just study up into the fields they want to know, because a lot of people apply and they don't really know what field that is actually. Like the role I got into, semiconductor industry, and when I was talking to a recruiter, is basically they were impressed because I actually knew what a semiconductor was, and I could explain it to them. A lot of people were just, apply. It's like, oh, I have these qualifications here. It's like, do you know what I say? Do you know what we do at this company? It's like, no, I don't know what you guys do at this company, but I heard it's big. You know, take more of an engaging attitude for applications.
Yeah.
Do your research into the companies. Do your research into what product they do, what technology they make. Understand the technology a little bit.
Yeah.
I would say connections is very important as well.
Yeah.
In terms of work, you need your experience. And I want to talk about this loop as a international student.
Yeah.
The one of the harshest loops to get out of is finding your first work jobs.
Okay.
Because it's going to be like, okay, you want to apply to this company for internship? It's like, no, we're looking for someone with more experience.
Okay.
And it's like, how am I supposed to get my first experience if everyone is looking for experience?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So you have to be a bit more creative. I went through research routes. Some people might go through others.
Okay.
But yeah, Taylor went through his initial community college, NASA,
And then
everything,
internships.
internships.
Yeah.
I went through just doing research and then having that apply as my experience. So just doing unpaid research. So.
Okay, that sounds really amazing. So now going through the same, you mentioned something really that just catch my mind about semiconductor, something like that. So we will get into that. But before really jumping to there, how can you advise somebody to really stand out from their work when they got already in the work community start, and then they start working for the work to be known as a person to stand out and make a difference in the working environment?
Oh, so someone who's already in the work environment.
Yes.
So I'll just be honest, work is different in the professional life to school life. So work is a very visual game.
Yeah.
It's a total different environment. Your work, even if you do a good job, if you don't make that visual to your manager or your other fellow employees,
Yeah.
then it won't be as recognized as much and it won't put you up for like promotions and stuff. So one key important aspect is, yes, do good work, but important is making your work visual. So letting your manager know about your work, letting the company know or other management level know about the impact of your work. It's like this saved this amount of hours or this produced this amount of customers or whatever. And then as well as just being very close to your manager as well, being nice to him and have a very open and growth and realize that what type of work, which when you go to the workspace, you're going to have like a million of different types of projects to do. Kind of thing. So you need to align your projects that you choose to do and spend your time with the company's MBO. It's basically what the company takes priority in, because each company will have different appreciations of different kinds of work. So making sure your work is impact and something that your company wants. So you can do some impressive work, but if it's not something the company was necessarily wanted, or if it's something that's not visually shown, it's going to be harder to get ahead in terms of getting promotions or getting raises and everything.
Yeah.
So
I know whenever we're spending time, we were at the University at Texas Tech. There was various different some organizations that would support international students. I know one in particular where every Wednesday and I believe Friday we would go and have international lunch.
yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that was good. I was
Yeah.
whenever
The
you're
food wasn't
hungry-
that great, but I mean, like,
True.
it was like average. It was good.
free food though.
Yeah, free food.
Free food. You could always count on that. If whenever your week was going tough, you could count on that. What kind of resources do you think universities should provide more to international students and just students in general as well to help them cope with their mental well-being as they're going through, transitioning into the new culture and just the coursework and things like that? What kind of resources do you think universities should have?
So I think food was the biggest one. It was definitely helpful in terms of just being like food security. It's like you're spending so much money kind of thing. You're taking so much loans. You're spending so much on tuition and housing and everything relative to a country you came from. So you're kind of skeptical. You're going to kind of torture yourself a little bit because you're going to come into this game where you're going to be like, oh, it's like, how much does this food going to cost? And then you do like conversions, It's like,
Right.
oh, this costs $15. And it's like, how much does that $15 equate to in my country? And that's one of the worst things you can do, I think. It's like, I don't know if you have the experience with that as well, Jonathan, when you like look at price of food and then you do a conversion of how much that would cost in your own country.
Yeah, I mean,
We're like, wow.
so my country, we use dollars.
Yeah.
We use dollars, but the price are really completely different. But that happened to me really when I left from my country to where I was in Kigali in Rwanda. So most of prices are in local, currency. So I had to be like converting, like from the local to my own money, and I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
sucks. Yeah.
that happened. But here when I came, first of all, when I came, bro, there's something. I wasn't using my own money. I had some little money that I came with, but I wasn't using it. Why? Because I had my brother Taylor was there and was like, no man, I got you.
Mm.
Was like, man, I got you. And one of my another guy, Isaac, they were like, I got you. And I was like, and today they don't do that anymore. And I'm like, why did they stop? Tell me, why did you stop?
Get the beef
no,
out.
when I came like the first month, and then whenever we could go like to the restaurant or anything like that, I was like, huh, how much is it? They be like, no man, don't worry, we got you.
It's cool,
No
yeah, bro.
man, don't worry, we got you. And then, but from there, I mean, it changed. No, time to time he does it, but not as it was before.
Yeah, we don't want you to get initially whenever you did transfer here. We don't want to. We don't want you to go through the pressure
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
of transitioning here. What do I have to pay? I have to
Yeah.
just relax. You're just transitioning. You're just getting
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's actually was the only thing
just not
that
getting it.
really got into me to start. I wasn't really into. I have to convert, because whenever I was asking, they were like, "No, we got you," and I love that. Nobody,
Yeah.
everybody likes free food.
Yeah.
Of course.
But back to Ted's question about what universities could do, I think food security is a big one. Giving good food, nutrition, like the food bank that they have for international students.
Right.
I know a lot of international students are going to be tempted to just be like, time to go on ramen and rice and very basic foods. But you need your nutrition to perform well in school and perform well for your health and mental health.
Definitely.
I think there's a lot of free resources. So one of the biggest free resource at Texas Tech, which is actually not spoken a lot and I think should be more in different universities, is actually the mental health. There's like a therapist that was on
Okay.
site.
Yes.
So as an international student, you're gonna have a lot of struggles with a lot of aspects. You're gonna deal with like a lot of stresses. You're gonna have school. You're gonna have like this whole finances. You'll sort that out as best as possible. But you're gonna have on top of that other stuff as well if you want. You're gonna have like relationship stuff as well. Navigating relationships with different cultures. Like if you want to date here as well. So definitely take advantage of your mental health resources as well. I know there are universities which have free mental health resources for the students, like see a therapist or whatever if you need it. You're gonna go through some dark patches. Talk to your friends. Friends will always be helpful.
Definitely.
And I think just resources in terms of like helping international students more is jobs as well, research, and then giving more jobs. I think those are the top priorities to help with, as well as just giving financial advice to international students. Basically more of a department helping international students instead of being like, oh, okay, I hope you guys survive. They could just throw you there and be like, good luck.
Okay, I think that is a
Seen a
great
lot of
thing about what you pinpoint about financial advice, because most international students when they come in here, uh, as they don't work, they depend on the parent from the country where they come from, especially Africa and whatever. So they're waiting for the parent to send money and whatever. And some students don't really study, and they just go into getting friends, drinking, partying, and all of the stuff. So, as somebody who has been through all that's kind of and sort of things, what kind of advice can you give an initial student that is coming to really make sure that they really care about their financial management, and how to make sure like they can go ahead with their studies and make sure like they're gonna meet their goal and the reason why they came here in the United States.
So it's mostly try to keep them aligned with their goals and not be distracted, kind of thing, right?
Oh yeah.
So I think finance is a big thing with parents financing. I think one of the key things that helps a lot with getting a lot of students' priorities straight
Yeah.
is actually having an open dialogue with your parents and like knowing like where these finances are coming and how much is actually impacting them. Because a lot of these international students, they get money from their parents. If their parents are not like super wealthy, business owners or whatever, it's gonna hurt them.
Yeah.
It's a big chunk of their life savings.
Yeah, sure.
So I did see cases where students would be like, international students where they were like, oh, I'm getting money from my parents. Let me go drinking with my friends and everything. But their parents were struggling back in their home country
Yeah.
Wow.
to try just give them this opportunity. And they just, out there drinking. It's like, I need this money. And like, can you send it to me for school? Because the parents can't see what money is going to be used. They just have hopes that obviously their child is going to take advantage and use it to best. Having an open dialogue with that is important, because parents often are going to keep it secret to you because they don't want to give you the extra stress.
Yeah.
So a lot of parents are kind like that, but definitely keeping humble of that, because also realizing that this is a one-time opportunity thing, that if you drop out and everything, if you don't get enough good grades and you get back to your old country, it's going to be very hard coming back. So realizing more of a holistic picture and not be distracted, I would say, is important.
Okay, great. I don't know, Taylor, do you have another question?
No, that's a good point. I think it's been a good conversation and good enlightenment on just immigration process, the cultural change.
Yeah,
I
sure.
think it's been a good conversation so far.
So, I mean, we can have Logan next time, right?
Yeah.
On
I
his
love to come.
availability.
Yeah, sure.
I live in Austin, so
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
So it's like what, 2 hours?
3 hours,
3
like 3.5
hours?
yeah.
Okay. So Taylor will talk to you so we can dive more like really about semiconductor.
Yeah, I love to talk about my industry. Who's ever
Yeah.
interested in semiconductors industry,
Semiconductors.
how to
So-
get into that field. I think it's
Yeah,
going to be a
sure.
huge field in the future. There's
Okay.
billions being poured into America into semiconductor manufacturing. So
Yeah, sure. So we're gonna have you like next time to really talk just about that and
Yeah.
to know how it's gonna have more impact on the future, how it's gonna help people, and how people can get themselves into the field and out of the stuff. So to conclude, we have this two questions that we're gonna ask.
Yeah.
And for this one, I just tell Taylor to do it.
Yeah. So the first question is, what uh, advice has really shaped you? What is the most important advice that you've ever received?
what's the most important advice?
What's the
I
best
mean,
advice?
what is the best advice that you ever heard, received, or given?
So go through a lot of like, while I'm studying in America, I think I started taking up this philosophy called Stoicism. Stoicism is a philosophy on trying to not try to numb out your feelings of issues or hardships,
Yeah.
but try be in control of it and try be, more of a balanced state with a lot of the chaos around you
Yeah.
and moving forward.
Yeah.
So the one advice that shaped me was that you're going to have a lot of issues. You could be a lot of stuff affecting you. You could have like a lion like chew up your leg, and you could have eagles like peek on your eyes, and you can have poison go through you. But in the end, none of that can hurt you. It's only if your mind allows it.
Oh,
So in the end, you choose what hurts you. In the end,
okay.
you choose what your pain is. So your pain that you experience right now is all very relative, and it can be changeable in terms of how you want to view the pain.
It's true.
And an event can be only as tragic as much as you allow it.
Wow. Wow.
So
And the last one,
Wow.
what is the worst advice that you have ever heard, received, or given?
worst advice, I would say just be content. I would say just like advice is like, especially getting into the professional world, it'd be like a lot of people are very much, once they graduate, there's like, oh, it's like they graduate, they go to a job, and it's like then they're like, okay, now I'm here. Now it's like,
Yeah.
oh, now just do whatever, do the minimum and everything, and like
satisfied.
stay satisfied. It's like, okay, I'm getting paid now. I'm getting paid. I have stability now. They get comfortable, which is good for a lot of people. They
Yeah.
deserve to be. They worked hard through a number of years, and they
Yeah.
got into college, and they worked for like they do their work. They clock in
Yeah.
9 to 5. You know, the regular job. But I would say growth doesn't happen from just being content around you.
Yeah.
So you have to always continue growing. There's always a good learning from appreciation where you are and appreciate how you've come.
Yeah.
But always continue moving forward. I feel like it's important. Even if you're in your career, you always have to think of moving forward outside of your career as well. And you're outside of your company. You can't have a long-term thinking, especially with how dynamic the world is right now. This industry's changing.
Wow.
Thank you for that.
That's really great. So from here, I would say thank you
Yeah.
for being with us, for coming, for accepting the invitation. Thanks, Taylor, for bringing Logan.
Thanks for having me.
I
Sure,
mean,
it's
we
been a
would
pleasure.
appreciate. And thanks for everybody who has just watched the video. And we invite you, if this is your first time, to really subscribe. And then you may ask us any question that you have about the channel that you're going through. So we'll look for somebody who's really experienced and have the knowledge about that so that we can talk about it. But from now, stay blessed. See you to the
Sure.
next episode. Ciao.
All right.